Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 8 April. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering US scientists have recreated the long extinct dire wolf species, Trump says US is planning talks with Iran, and 2 Chinese men have been captured fighting for Russia. So firstly, a US bioscience company, Colossal Biosciences, has achieved a significant scientific milestone by recreating the genome of the direwolf, an extinct species that was last seen over 10,000 years ago, and successfully produced 3 wolf cubs. Using ancient DNA extracted from the fossils between 11,500 and 72,000 years ago, researchers at the Foundation modified the genetic material of a grey wolf cell at multiple sites, then introduced these modified DNA into an egg cell from a domestic dog. The embryos were subsequently carried by surrogate domestic dogs, culminating the birth of the pups 62 days later. The company has kept the location of the pups confidential to protect them from public interference. Currently, the young wolves weigh around 36 kilograms and measure 1.2 meters long, with expectations of them to grow significantly larger. The initiative by Colossal Biosciences forms part of a broader de-extinction efforts aimed at not only reviving extinct animals, but also at conserving endangered species through advanced genetic technologies. However, despite these technological advancements, there are significant ecological and ethical considerations. Experts from the University of Buffalo express skepticism about the true nature of de-extinction, pointing out that the recreation of the animal's appearance does not equate to the reviving the original species with its ecological roles and behaviors. Additionally, Colossal's chief animal expert noted that these genetically recreated animals, lacking natural parental guidance, are unlikely to ever fully adopt the behaviors of their ancient predecessors, such as hunting large prey. So what? This is just a crazy story that opens up a world of possibilities, however scary they may be. Guess we might be seeing Jurassic Park in real life at some point. Can't see that going wrong, can you? And next, President Donald Trump recently announced plans for upcoming discussions with Iran, indicating a significant meeting scheduled for Saturday involving direct interactions at almost the highest levels. These statements contrast with Iran's foreign minister, who described the talks as indirect high-level talks and confirmed that they would be hosted by Oman. The announcement came during a time when Trump also issued a stark warning, stating that Iran would face great danger should the negotiations fail, emphasizing the US's position that Iran must not develop nuclear weapons. This rhetoric was echoed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during his visit to the US, reinforcing the view that Iran is a regional threat and underlying the necessity for the talks to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. The backdrop to these forthcoming talks includes a history of strained relations and faltering negotiations between the US and Iran. Direct talks have not occurred since the Obama administration successfully negotiated the 2015 international nuclear deal aimed at limiting Iran's nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. However, Trump later abandoned this agreement in 2018, prompting Iran to cease its compliance with the arms deal. Recently, the Iranian president expressed a preference for indirect talks and stressed the need for the US to amend its past misconduct to rebuild trust, framing the upcoming discussions as both a test and an opportunity for diplomatic engagement. So what? Some of the rhetoric coming out of both camps makes it seem highly unlikely that the agreement will be reached anytime soon. And this is pretty scary, as Israel have made it clear that they have the capability and the intent to conduct significant strikes against Iran. In turn, Iran has the ability to inflict serious damage to the global economy, specifically cutting maritime trade in the Strait of Hormuz. Though it is highly likely that the US and Israel would prevail over Iran, it will come at a significant cost. And lastly, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently announced that Ukrainian forces had captured 2 Chinese citizens who were fighting alongside Russian troops in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. This revelation came through social media post by Zelensky, which included images of the alleged prisoners and claims of possessions of their personal documents, such as bank cards and other identifying information. Zelensky's statement highlighted that this incident occurred despite China's public stance of neutrality in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, where it has asserted to not being sending lethal assistance to either side. In response to the capture of these individuals, Zelensky has sought an official explanation from the Chinese government, expressing concerns over the involvement of Chinese citizens in the conflict, which he interprets as China's participation in Russian military action against Ukraine. The Ukrainian leader has tasked his foreign minister to engage directly with Beijing to address this issue. Zelensky's remarks underscore the broader geopolitical dynamics, noting Russia's strategic alliances with countries such as China and North Korea, which he views as part of a broader effort by Russian President Vladimir Putin to escalate this war rather than seek resolution. So what? This shouldn't be a big surprise for anyone, as it has previously been reported that Chinese nationals were filmed in Russian units alongside other nations' citizens. It is similar to how Ukraine makes use of large numbers of foreign volunteers, differing only in that Russia has likely enticed their fighters with money and passports. However, it is still an interesting development, and their interrogation may provide some good information on the numbers of foreign fighters that Russia is utilizing, though it is unlikely that this information will be made public in any great detail. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing it with your friends and leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, check out one of our courses in the description below. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and we'll see you next time.